Starting lineups are brought to you by Tachikara. And for the Penn State Nittany Lions tonight, they're coming off a win against Nebraska, the #1 team in the country, on Saturday. And Penn State, the starters for them this evening, of course, they have Deja McClendon, one of the stars we talked about, Micah Hancock at setter. Ariel Scott has also been phenomenal in Big Ten play, Megan.
And she's taken a big load offensively for Penn State. We're so used to seeing Deja put up huge numbers, but Ariel Scott really came into this season and taken a lot of swings for Penn State.
Of course, Megan Shiflett in for Ayanna Whitney to start out the match. And for the Gophers, Kelly McNeil moving into that setter role. She was the #1 setter ranked in the nation coming out of high school, but Ashley Whitman cannot be ignored for the Gophers. She's third in the Big Ten in kills per set.
And she's such a powerful outside hitter in the Big Ten for this Minnesota team. She's a great 6-rotation player. You will see her a lot in the back row.
And the head coach for the Penn State Nittany Lions, Russ Rose, of course, in his 33rd year, 12-time Big Ten Coach of the Year, 4-time AVCA National Coach of the Year. Of course, he's won 14 overall Big Ten titles, and the accolades go on and on. Minnesota head coach Laura Bush, the interim head coach this season between Mike Hebert and Hugh McCutcheon before next year. She's in her 10th overall year coaching, of course, her 4th with the Minnesota program. She went to the Final Four twice as a player and twice as an assistant with this Gopher team. When we look at the series between these two, we talked about how Penn State has been dominant, but Minnesota in this building has done very well in the month of November, and in the second half of the Big Ten season, they have not lost a single match in this building since 2007 in the second half of Big Ten play. It's one of those things, Megan, where you just don't know. Any night you come in, you don't know what your opponent's going to bring to the floor. And the Big Ten has so many top teams, 7 in the AVCA poll. Any night could be a battle.
Absolutely, and you know that was illustrated last weekend with Minnesota's schedule. They went in to Evanston, Illinois, playing Northwestern, got knocked off there, and then turned around and played a great Illinois team in Huff Hall, where we all know it's so hard to win there, and knocked them off with the 3-0 sweep. So you just never know what you're going to get. You have to compete night in and night out, and anytime you got Penn State across the net from you, you're excited to play, you're excited to compete against them.
And Megan, what are some of the keys for Penn State in this match?
Well, their ball control has to be there. When Penn State's really good, their ball control is very consistent. Micah Hancock has all of her options, and they have to have big blocks, especially from Katie Slade. She's been phenomenal this entire Big Ten season and with blocking, and they have to continue to have a big blocking presence against Minnesota.
Penn State outblocked Minnesota in the first meeting, 14.5 to 4. For Minnesota, give us the keys, Megan.
Limit their errors. They've been pretty high air, especially last weekend against Northwestern and Illinois, and serve tough. Get behind that service line and go after it. They have to serve tough, keep Penn State predictable to utilize their block.
And Minnesota had a season-high 7 service aces against the Illini. Tori Dixon came up with 4 of those. They have to serve aggressively if they're going to get another win over a top 10 team and move to over 500 in the Big Ten Conference. We're set to get underway as Micah Hancock will serve, the leader in the nation in service aces with almost 1 per set. Already out of system for the Gophers, free ball sent over. Hancock goes with a back set to Scott, who gets the first kill of the night.
Well, and if Micah Hancock isn't getting aces, it's exactly what she does. She gets back there and gets Minnesota out of system. She earned her team a free ball and a big kill.
Left-handed setter for the Nittany Lions with that serve with such a high velocity that tails at the end. In system this time for Minnesota. Whitman with the tip. Gonzalez is there for Penn State. McClendon just sends it over. Now back set to Dixon, off the block. Gonzalez gets a hand on it, but Penn State can't control it. Point goes to Minnesota.
Tori Dixon, an extremely physical middle blocker in the Big Ten. We'll see her run a plethora of sets across the net. She likes to stay in front of the setter, but is very efficient off of 1 foot behind the setter.
Slay in the middle for Penn State. McNeil over to Whitman. just tips off the net. Now chance for McClendon. She goes off speed. Good dive there by Whitman to save it. This one into the net. Back row now for the Gophers. Out of system, Longo over to Scott. Good defense so far from Minnesota. Whitman now tries to go for the corner. Gonzalez able to get to it. Scott again. It's long, touch called though off the Gophers, and Penn State gets another point.
Penn State here out of system. Hancock really pushed over to the right side of the court. Ariel Scott taking an aggressive swing for the kill.
Saw Dominique Gonzalez, the freshman in the back row for Penn State, come up with a great dig. She had a career-high 11 against Nebraska on Saturday. McNeil, set goes to Whitman. Longo with the up. Now Whitney in, she taps it over. Whitman finally gets a kill for Minnesota, and we're tied at 2.
Whitman taking a powerful swing. She was brought a few feet into the court. Here you can see right through the middle of Slay and Ariel Scott.
Ashley Whitman, the sophomore outside hitter from Shakopee, Minnesota. Big Ten freshman team a year ago for the Gophers. Scott again, and another kill. Penn State has 3 points, and they've all come from Ariel Scott. Scott has been fantastic in Big Ten play. 10 kills or more in 10 of 12 Big Ten matches so far, and she's off to a great start tonight. Whitman again. This time it's long, but it's touched by Penn State, and a point goes to Minnesota.
It's imperative that Ashley Whitman continues to mix up her shots from the outside. We saw earlier they brought her a few feet inside. Now they're pushing her back out to the pin to keep the Penn State blockers on their toes.
Now middle to Grant. Good set on the quick by Micah Hancock for the point for Penn State.
Grant is more of a middle blocker that we'll see in front of the setter. She elevates very well. High elbow there and great snap on the ball.
This one just tipped up and over. Hancock goes to Whitney. Out of play, and the kill for Ayanna Whitney. Coming off a great match against Nebraska, she continues the trend. Runs it down. Swing comes from Cowles. Hancock back set to Scott. Out of play, and Ariel Scott remains perfect here in set 1.
Minnesota really hasn't been able to take an aggressive swing. We've seen a few from Whitman, but it looks like their offensive rhythm is a little out of sync. They haven't had a lot of great sets to attack.
Cowles again tries to go for that back corner. Scott is there. Now Whitney, another chance, but she puts it into the net.
Ayanna Whitney trying to go for that extremely sharp cross-court shot. She saw it there. It's a very hard shot to execute.
Ayanna Whitney, 6'5", freshman outside hitter from Norwood, New Jersey for Penn State. Hancock, this time to Grant, looking for her second kill. Great digging up by Granquist. And Minnesota gets the kill from the back row off the touch.
Here finding Ashley Whitman out of the back row, really just trying to put that ball inbounds, and got the touch off the Penn State blocker.
6-5 lead for Penn State in set 1 with Granquist serving for Minnesota. Hancock tries to go over on 2. McNeil in the middle, mistimed. No chance for Penn State. Whitney this time sent back by the block. In the middle to Dixon, solo block by Nia Grant.
McNeil trying to go back to her hitters. Went back right here to Dixon after the miscue. Nia Grant did a great job tracking Dixon.
We talked about it, paying attention to the block numbers. Gophers have been outblocked in 4 of their last 5 matches. Service error by Dominique Gonzalez for Penn State. lose to Minnesota. And Coach Russ Rose not happy with Dominique Gonzalez after Saturday night. She mentioned that she thought the team was on their way to winning the Big Ten championship after beating the Cornhuskers. And Russ Rose said that he didn't like the nonsense talk from an underclassman and the comedy routine, as he called it. Ariel Scott puts that one out of play, the first error on her in this match.
Well, a lot of times as a young player, you win a great match against the #1 team in the country, and you're young in the Big Ten. It's a huge win for Penn State. She has a lot of emotion and momentum. You've never been there before, so it's a lot of just getting used to being in front of a camera in the media and being in a Big Ten conference with a lot of, the microscope is on you, and those are just little things that you learn as you become a veteran in a program.
And the older upperclassmen on Penn State's roster said they love the confidence of Dominique Gonzalez, but they know how tough it's going to be in the Big Ten. Whistle before the serve. Looks as if everyone may not have been in their correct placement, so they will reserve this one. As Grant is back there for Penn State. And a service ace for Nia Grant, the freshman for the Nittany Lions. See Grant moving to one rotation in the back row where she will serve. She's done a nice job over the past 2 matches in her service game. This one not going to get over. Point goes to Minnesota, so an ace for Grant and then an error, and she'll check out.
Back to serve for Golden Gophers, number 3, Haley Cowell.
Russ Rose talked to us about Nia Grant and her play, and he said it's really difficult to come into the Big Ten as a freshman and play in the middle. Easier to be a freshman on the outside, but the middle's so tough in the Big Ten Conference. McClendon now. Whitman with a swing and a kill.
You talk to any freshman coming into the Big Ten and starting or having a significant amount of playing time, and they're always going to mention the speed of the game. That's always going to be their hardest adjustment. And I think as a middle, that's where you're really affected by the speed of the game. You're running from pin to pin. You have to track the setter and really have good eyes. Your feet have to be very quick. The speed of the game really catches up to middles.
Ariel Scott in the back row with a big swing and kill. It's an imposing figure coming from that back row for Penn State. So now Micah Hancock rotates back into the service. 6 service aces against Nebraska. Did not get one earlier. Wolf just clips it off the net. Longo will set over to Scott. She finds that back line. Minnesota has not had an answer for Ariel Scott in the early going of this match.
Ariel Scott aiming for those deep corners, just taking very smart swings.
So 6 kills for Scott. Hancock still serving. Out of system for the Gophers. Free ball sent over. Hancock goes to McClendon, and another kill for Penn State. Firing on all cylinders between McClendon and Scott.
Well, it all starts with Hancock's serve. Minnesota hasn't been able to get a solid pass off of her serve. She's earned them a lot of free balls, which enables her to run her entire offense.
Neal, back row now for the Gophers. Chance for McClendon with the tip over. Set goes to Whitman, who puts it down through the block.
Seen that a lot out of Whitman. She comes off the block, gets the tip, and then stays in the middle of the court. She runs a 2-ball or a high ball right over the middle blocker.
5 kills now for Ashley Whitman, and an important one to take away the service and get Micah Hancock away from that service line. Dixon, she takes it and hits the front back line for a service ace. We talked about Micah Hancock so much, but Tori Dixon is 6th in the Big Ten in service aces this season. It's what the Gophers need. They have to serve aggressively to keep Penn State out of easy passes. Scott off the bump set, finds the corner.
No answer for Ariel Scott right now. They use her when they're out of system, when they just need to get the ball in. She aims for those deep corners. We've seen her go down the line, have a lot of success on the right side of the court.
15-12 in set number 1. So Whitman and Scott really trading roles on both sides of the net.
Absolutely. We haven't seen a whole lot of action at the middles from both teams. Just dishing it out, pushing it from pin to pin, giving it to their left side hitters.
Hancock goes to Scott again, off the block, another kill. Those nights where Ariel Scott looks like she could get what most players get in an overall match in one set. 8 kills now for Scott. McNeil just taps it with a hand. Gophers can't get it over, and the point goes to Penn State. Nittany Lions on top, 15-12. It's really been all Ariel Scott. Back to Minnesota in a moment. It'll be encouraging for Russ Rose and the Penn State staff because Scott has gotten her numbers throughout the season, but she usually starts at a high air rate and then brings that down throughout the match. Tonight, starting with only 1 air, and of course, she's 4th in the Big Ten in kills per set during conference play. Had a nice weekend against Nebraska and Iowa, coming up with 32 kills. Penn State can be very dangerous if McClendon and Scott are on. Service error by Penn State. Minnesota will take that out of the timeout.
Back to serve for the Golden Gophers, number 13, Ashley Whitman.
Whitman serve for the Gophers. We talk about Whitman being an all Big Ten freshman selection a year ago. Coming out of high school, she was the 3rd high school athlete in the state of Minnesota to win the National Gatorade Player of the Year award. One of those other players, Joe Mauer for the Minnesota Twins. So she's in good company in terms of her athletic ability. Hancock has to run it down. McClendon from the back row. Cowles. Now Whitney just has to tap it over. Chance again for Haley Cowles. Hancock back set to Scott. This time Cowles finally puts it away. They look to her 3 times in that rally and she gets the kill.
Going back to her hitters, such an important part of the game for setters to just keep going back to their hitters, keep finding them until they come up with a kill.
Saw her go right in between the block. Of course, Cowles missed all of last season with an ACL injury. She's a leader for this Minnesota team. They desperately needed her when she came back. Redshirt senior out of Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Now Grant in the middle, another kill for Nia Grant. Both these teams want to see the balance, and Penn State gets it to the middle that time.
Nia Grant accelerates so quickly off the floor. If you're blocking her, you have to beat her off the floor. She has an incredibly quick arm swing.
Cowles again. Finds that back row for another kill.
Cowles pushed all the way out to the pin, right through the Penn State block.
Penn State not closing off the block well. These last 2 attempts by the Gophers. Hancock goes to Whitney, wide open on the floor, and she gets the kill.
Whitney extended over the Minnesota block there, able to put it in a hole on the floor.
Penn State on top, 17-15 in set number 1 on the road against the Gophers. Gonzalez trying to get the ace, she will. Micah Hancock, not the only player who's strong from that service line. We saw Kristen Carpenter a moment ago back there. Now Gonzalez, Ali Longo is known for service aces. They can serve tough from a number of different players. Cowles again. This time she's blocked. Penn State finally had the answer and closed it off so Haley Cowles could not go in between them. 19-15 lead for Penn State in set number 1. We'll have a timeout on the floor. Fans, be sure to follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/BTN Volleyball. You'll get the latest news. Plus, you can ask Megan anything you want about tonight's match or the world of Big Ten volleyball. We'll try to answer a couple of them later on in the match. Megan, I don't know if I'm allowed. I may jump on Twitter and try to ask you a question.
Yeah, just ask me right here, Mike.
It shouldn't just go through the digital world. Megan, we talk about Minnesota being 6-6, 500 in the Big Ten. They're tied for 5th at this point in the season, but it's really been an up-and-down year for them. Head coach Laura Bush has said they hadn't found any consistency this year. As you talked about before, they lost to Northwestern in straight sets on Friday night. Then they beat the number 3 team in the country on Saturday night. It's really been a story of night in, night out. They don't know what team they're going to see.
Well, and I think the inconsistent play, they haven't had a consistent lineup on the court. That's a big change. Just change your setter, your starting setter in the middle of the Big Ten season. That's a huge change, and Kelly McNeil has stepped in and done a great job for Minnesota. She's young. She's trying to figure out the speed of the game, and especially the physicality of the Big Ten Conference, and that's a big change. And for Minnesota to do that, it just shows that they're really looking for some continuity on their team.
Mia Taverson, the center for the Gophers until last week. Kelly McNeil in there, or she has a bright future for this Minnesota program. Laura Bush mentioned that the consistency of McNeil was a key. She didn't go for huge numbers in those 2 matches last weekend, but she was just consistent and put up a good block for the Gophers. McNeil looks over the far side to Harms, who puts it down.
Catherine Harms has been quiet early in this first set. We haven't seen Minnesota really mix up their offense, use their middles. She goes behind the setter, Harms. Wicked arm swing there for the kill.
Catherine Harms, 3rd in the team in kills. And she'll head back to serve. Hancock back set to Grant. Carpenter runs it down. Sent over by McClendon. Chance for Dixon on the slide. She converts. Couple of points in a row for the Gophers, and they're within 2.
Solid transition play there by Minnesota. They got a dig off of McClendon hit and then went and used their middles behind the setter.
This time goes to McClendon, off the block. McNeil looks to Dixon again, and 2 consecutive kills for Tori Dixon.
Minnesota finding a couple good touches off the block, enabling to run the middle behind the setter. Dixon so effective off of 1 foot.
Dixon a season ago played all over the floor with the injuries to several different Gophers. She played on the outside, she played in the middle. Trying to play a more 6 rotation game this season for Minnesota. Hancock, this time she goes to Scott. Chance now to Cowles. Overpass still in play. Now Dixon again. 3rd kill now in a row for Dixon. Tied now in set number 1 at 19, thanks to the run by Dixon.
Find an answer for Dixon. She hit it cross court and then there slammed it down the line for a huge kill.
So a timeout for Penn State as they want to talk it over as they've seen Tori Dixon go on a run and the Gophers tie it back up in set number 1. BTN introduces BTN Live Big, our initiative to recognize and inspire the community service efforts of Big Ten fans. To live big is to find a cause that you're passionate about and to do something about it. For more information, go to btnlivebig.com to find out how you can do more. BTN Live Big, act, serve, inspire. And Megan, we looked at the standings just a moment ago, and we've talked to numerous coaches. They've said that any night in the Big Ten, you can be playing someone in the lower half of the standings, but you could be facing your best opponent of the entire year. That's how good this conference is.
Well, and it's very deep, deeper than it's been in the last couple of years, and really opening up the gates for anyone to take this conference. And we see, Penn State knocking off Nebraska last weekend, and then to open up the big season, Nebraska, knocked off Penn State. So it's just, you never know who's going to be who. Everybody has the capability of competing with everybody in this conference.
Take a look at the outside hitters for both teams. Of course, Ariel Scott got going early on. She has 8 kills. Ashley Whitman with 6. Tori Dixon has been involved often in the middle for Minnesota on the past few points. Scott has been a little bit quiet. She went on that run, got Penn State up, but over the last 5 or 6 points, they haven't looked to her except for that one time in the last rally, and Minnesota able to get the touch off the block and keep it in play. So Harm still serving for the Gophers. They try to come from behind and take set number 1 away from the number 6 team in the nation. Hancock at the net, goes to McClendon, who puts it down off the block. Ending a run of 4 consecutive points by the Gophers.
McClendon runs a very quick set to the outside. They push it tight to the low and tight to the antenna.
At the net, overpass, kill for Penn State. Micah Hancock, the center, gets up with the left-handed swing and gets the Nittany Lions the point. Neal inside to Dixon again. Chance for McClendon once more with the tip. Sent over now by Cowles. Hancock has to run it down, and McClendon with another chance and a kill. More opportunities that McClendon has in a rally, the more likely she is to get the point.
Absolutely, McClendon taking some big swings, elevating. You can really see her use her arms and her approach to elevate off the floor.
Penn State opens it back up to a 3-point lead. They're 3 away from taking set 1 back to Minneapolis when we come back. Back to play here in the Sports Pavilion in Minneapolis. Penn State out of system, goes to McClendon, who gets another one for Penn State. No surprise that the Nittany Lions continue to look to her in key moments.
Minnesota hasn't been able to come up with a kill. McNeil looking for someone to put the ball away and end this Penn State run.
4 in a row now for Penn State. That one long, though, and it ends the rally on the service error by Nia Gray. Minnesota will need to put something together from the service line of their own as they try to keep Penn State from taking that 1-0 lead in the match. Back row for Scott, who puts it down. See Ariel Scott elevate.
Micah Hancock did a great job of leading her into her approach. Set it about at the 8-foot line. Let her take her big approach.
Set point number 1 for the Nittany Lions, and they have Hancock serving. Dixon now with the tip over. Penn State able to keep it alive. Allie Longo got to it. Now over on 2 by McNeil. Great decision for the point.
McNeil in a long rally here. Great up by Penn State. Really shows that attack late makes it very hard to read as a defender.
Hancock goes to Scott to try to end it. Out of play. Point goes to the Gophers. Now another timeout as Minnesota has drawn back within 2. Both of these teams know how important it is to start off well in set number 1. They do not want to fall behind, give the other team an opportunity. Hey, Big Ten fans, now you can get free programming alerts on your mobile phone. Be the first to know when your favorite coaches and players will appear on the Big Ten Network. Just text volleyball to 20284 or log on to btn.com/alerts. Message and data rates may apply. Megan, we saw Kelly McNeil come up with that point, just her 3rd start of the season at center for Minnesota. We talked a lot about Micah Hancock. And of course, we mentioned how difficult it is to be a freshman in the Big Ten Conference, playing in the middle or on the outside, but you see the comparison there. Hancock coming up with 6 digs. Megan, when you're a setter and you have to run an entire team, be able to communicate overall with upperclassmen, what's it like coming in and trying to run a team as just your first year in the conference?
Well, it really puts you into a leadership role, whether you're a natural leader or not. It forces you to control the court. You really have to have understanding and a very organizational skill to make sure you're managing your court, running your offense. A lot of setters in the Big Ten, I would say most setters in the Big Ten, run their own offense, call their own play sets. So it's things like that where you really have to be in control and let your teammates around you know that you're confident in what you're calling.
Penn State still with set point. Gophers and Tori Dixon serving, trying to avoid losing set number 1. Dixon with another ace for the Gophers, and they're within 1 point.
Dixon serving it just in front of the serve receivers, dropping that ball right in front of them.
Exactly what Minnesota needed. Continue that trend from Saturday night when they had 7 service aces. They will be in great shape for the remainder of the Big Ten Conference season. Another ace for Dixon. Off the hands of Maddie Martin. Tied at 24. Will go to extra points in set 1.
Dixon going right back to Maddie Martin. A smart server there. She got her on her first try and what made her pass the ball the second time.
3rd ace of the match for Tori Dixon, and a huge one for the Gophers as they tie it. Flipped off the net. Longo saves it for Penn State. Scott now able to rebound. Another set point for Penn State. 10th kill now for Ariel Scott.
Penn State's going to want to get the ball to Ariel Scott. She's been hot in this first set. They want to allow her to finish it off.
It'll be McClendon serving for Penn State. McNeil goes to Whitman. Tied again. Set 5 last year went 14 extra points with 14 ties. And set number 1 here tonight.
Whitman cutting it right underneath a big block from Katie Slay.
Hancock goes to Scott again. No surprise, she gets 1 more. Can Penn State finish it off, though? One set and 11 kills for Ariel Scott. Neal. This time goes to Horn. Big block by Penn State, and they take set 1.
Penn State wins the first set.
Nittany Lions able to overcome the rally by the Gophers, and they take the 1-0 lead in Minneapolis with a block by Nia Gray. Scott just with an outstanding night already. Talk about how she's hit over 260 in her past 5 matches. And over 400 so far in this match, though. Penn State continues to look to her. She's been a star for them throughout the Big Ten season, but on Saturday night it was Deja McClendon against Nebraska. Scott still had 12 kills, but McClendon was the one they looked to when they needed a big point. And then, of course, McClendon at the end of set number 1 here tonight. Able to get things going for Penn State and avoid the comeback by the Gophers. See if Minnesota can answer. It'll be Haley Cowles to start the second set. Tough serve by Cowles, and it's an ace. Minnesota continues to serve tough.
Just the way you want to start a match, get a quick point, start this set on the right note.
able to stay in system. Slay. Backs head over to Dixon. Blocked by McClendon. Fourth block for the Nittany Lions. Minnesota hasn't come up with one yet.
McClendon gets out there early. Her feet are set. She presses low into the court. Took away a lot of court from Dixon.
Now it's Hancock with that tough serve. Whitman this time. Another block for Penn State. Scott and Slay this time.
Katie Slay comes alive on the block. We've seen her all Big Ten season be huge on the blocking front. Big block by Slay.
Slay leads the Big Ten in blocks per set. Hancock with her first ace. It's just so tough to receive. You see that velocity, Megan. I'm sure you're happy to not be out there on the other end of it.
Well, you see, it's so different from a lot of the jump top serves. Not only is she left-handed, she brings a ton of speed. When she aims for the seams of the serve receiver, she doesn't put it right in their lap. It comes so fast, it forces the serve receivers to move their feet to get in front of the ball.
So 4 different occasions this season where she's gone over 6 service aces. Hancock this time over to McClendon. Off the hands of Dixon. Point goes to Penn State.
McClendon coming from behind the setter on the right side of the court. They're able to use her across the entire length of the net.
2010 National Freshman of the Year, National Championship's most outstanding player last season. Dangerous weapon for the Nittany Lions. McNeil goes over to Whitman. Penn State putting on a block party here in set 2.
But when Katie Slay's in the front row and she closes a block, she's not letting you get through as an attacker. You have to hit around her. She forces you to hit around her giant block.
6 blocks now for Penn State, 0 for Minnesota. McNeil to Whitman again with the tip over. Hancock able to get there. Chance now for Filio. Officials wait, they call it out of play, and no touch. Point goes to Penn State. Gopher fans not happy with that call. McNeil with the bump set. Met at the net, set over by Whitman. She wins the joust and gets the point for the Gophers. So a tough pass by the Gophers, but things work out.
Well, as a blocker, you never want to let an attacker out of that situation. She was put in very close to the net. The blocker had the advantage on that, and she dropped her hands too early.
Hancock to Whitney. Chance again for Whitman over the block. Back row for McClendon. She tips it over. A mix-up there by Deja McClendon, able to change up her shot.
Looks like she mistimed her approach. She was coming down as she was hitting. She did the smart thing, just got the ball in the court, was able to come up with a kill.
6 kills now for Deja McClendon. Penn State has the 7-3 lead in set 2. That one long, out of play by Longo. So an error by Penn State gives it back to the Gophers. Errors this season have been the bane of Russ Rose's existence. It feels like it's a big reason Penn State has not played to their potential this season. Back set now over to Scott, down the line and gets the kill. Little that Minnesota has been able to do against Ariel Scott all evening. And an ace now. Ariel Scott usually does not serve, but she'll get the ace when she's hot. They'll put her anywhere on the floor.
Yeah, they have to keep her in the game. She's playing so well. She has a positive effect on everyone that's playing around her. She's got her team going. Had a great first set. Russ is just trying to keep her in the game.
Scott from that back row, long this time. So Minnesota gets in a little bit of an applause from the crowd after having Scott send that one out of play. Mariana Filio will head back to serve for the Gophers. Goes to Scott again, tips it off the block and down. 13 kills now for Scott. Just barely into set number 2.
Haley Cowles was there on the block. She saw it being tipped over and she reached for it. As a blocker, you want to stay disciplined. Don't reach. Let the defender behind you take that pass.
Cowles this time. Off the Penn State block. Point goes to Minnesota.
It's another Haley's Comet.
Minnesota gets the point, Megan. What can they do to slow down Scott?
Well, they need to put up a consistent block in front of her. The diggers behind her have to be aggressive. They have to put themselves in positions to get hit by the ball. Keep the ball off the floor. Really challenge her as an attacker.
Neal backs it over to Dixon. She finds the opening. Saw Dixon get going at the end of set number 1 to draw Minnesota back into that tie at 19 apiece. They're going to need more from her throughout this match. Over on 2, another great decision by the center for the Gophers, and she draws them back within 2 points.
McNeil not overusing her offensive skills here. The ball was a perfect dig. She had all of her options. Went over on 2 there for the kill.
Ranked as the 8th best player coming out of high school and the #1 overall center last season. Hancock tries to do it this time. Now McClendon again. Cowles on the far side. Good up by Gonzalez. Scott. Whitman able to dig it out. Arms with the swing, but it's long. Good decision by Penn State to let it go.
Back in the game for the Nittany Lions, number 16, Katie Slay.
Grant will head back to serve. Penn State went on that run to open things up in set number 1 with her serving. Neal goes to Dixon. Tough pass there. Grant with the set to McClendon. Cowles off the net and down. No, they're going to call, I believe, an antenna hit on Cowles.
Cowles here trying to swing line a little bit too far, hitting the antenna, going out of bounds.
Back up to a 4-point margin with Grant serving for Penn State. Arm sends over a free ball. Hancock to McClendon. Too strong out of play. They're going to call, I believe, a touch. No. The point does go to Minnesota. The up official pointed in Penn State's direction, but the point goes to the Gophers. Minnesota number 15 in the nation. Penn State number 6 from the Sports Pavilion in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Katie Slay this time. Arms with a chance. Back to Whitman, elevates and gets the kill.
We've seen a lot of Whitman come inside of the court, not taking that normal approach outside of the court, close to the antenna. She's had a lot of success.
9 kills now for Ashley Whitman. Came onto campus last year and basically had to start playing 6 rotations the moment she became a Gopher. Working on her defense, Katie Slay with the tip over for Penn State.
Penn State really working Katie Slay to become more of an offensive threat. She puts up a huge blocking presence in the front row, comes away with great blocking numbers, but trying to really work her in to be a more offensive player.
Overpass, Slay can't put it away. Whitman will send it over. Going to send that outside of the antenna, so the point goes to Penn State. Tough one off the pass there. Whitman could not keep it in play. And Hancock will continue to serve for Penn State. Already one service ace in the match for Micah Hancock. Make it two. Back corner, no one there for the Gophers. Hancock is now tied for the single-season service ace record at Penn State. We'll see if she can break the record when we come back. Penn State on top in set number 2. The match 1-0. They also lead set number 2, 15-10. See this serve again by Micah Hancock. Places it perfectly in that back corner. Leads the nation in service aces. Of course, a key freshman for Penn State. And Megan, we talk about the freshman of the year candidates. Lexi Dannemiller, Dutchman, Hancock, Kiki Jones for Purdue, Corey Moster for Michigan State. A lot of great candidates out there. Who's your pick at this point?
Well, I love seeing all these freshmen be such contributors to their teams. But I have to say that I'm most impressed with Micah Hancock only because she really has developed through this entire season. Penn State struggled early against some good teams, especially in the ABCA showcase against Oregon and USC. And then she comes into a strong, very deep Big Ten conference, really trying to develop her team. And she has a lot of youth around her and has just really taken on serving as her strong point and what she feels most comfortable doing and really organizing Penn State's offense.
You see she gets the point even without the service ace, the overpass, and the kill for Ariel Scott. And of course, we'll talk to another key freshman in the Big Ten Conference, Katie Dutchman, coming up at the intermission. Hancock looking for another ace. Gophers able to stay in system. Neal to Dixon, takes away the service from Micah Hancock. Point goes to Minnesota. Gophers had to have that one, and now they have their serving specialist back there in Tori Dixon.
Well, we talked early what the key would be for Minnesota, and that's ball control, and they really haven't solidified ball control tonight. It's been very up and down for them. They haven't been able to run a consistent offense at a service eve, and that's really hurting them right now as they're just trying to get the ball in play.
2 chances for Deja McClendon, and she finally finishes for Penn State. A 6-point margin in set number 2. So Penn State go up by 4 in the first set, and Minnesota went on a run to tie it. Let's see if the Gophers can do it again. Arms this time from McNeil. McClendon unhappy with herself for letting that go. Seen that twice now where Deja McClendon is not happy with her decision to let the ball go.
Well, as a defender, you really just have to anticipate balls. You can't think or hesitate. The ball comes at you way too fast. You have to anticipate as a defender.
Slay this time from Hancock. Set over to Whitney. Now Whitney for Penn State finds the back row. A lot of different options tonight for the Nittany Lions.
Well, this is the type of Penn State team we're used to seeing where they're on all cylinders. You have a right side, you can go to a middle option and a left side. You never know what's going to come your way. Early on in the season, we really saw them left side dominant. Just really high balls to the outside, just trying to find their rhythm. They had a new setter where you can really see this offense develop.
Earlier this season, we saw Penn State sweep Minnesota in University Park, Pennsylvania. They hit 344 in that match with only 8 errors, and Russ Rose called it the best performance of the season for that team. You wanted to see them play like that every night. So far in this one, they're living up to those expectations. Hancock to Whitney again, off the block and into the net. Point for Penn State. Better timing from Micah Hancock with all of her hitters tonight. It's a bit of a concern for Penn State. She really was not on the same page with anyone other than Ariel Scott in the early going of the Big Ten season. McClendon had a great match against Nebraska. And then, of course, now she's setting the middle well to Grant, also to Whitney. Things starting to come together for Micah Hancock and the Nittany Lions. McNeil in the middle this time. Back over to Harms. Good up there. Now Cowles blocked him down. Combination of Hancock and Grant.
Timeout, Minnesota.
A 7-point margin for Penn State in set number 2. Take another look at the block.
Penn State did a great job staying on their toes as blockers. Huge block by Nia Grant.
Nia Grant came up with 5 blocks against Nebraska. She had 6 in the last meeting between these two teams. Of course, Penn State has 7 blocks already in this match. Minnesota still looking for their first. Blocks a big reason why Penn State has the lead and the match and overall in set number 2. This week on BTN.com, don't miss any exciting volleyball action. Go to video.btn.com this week and check out our upcoming volleyball schedule. Of course, you can catch all of the matches which could decide the Big Ten Conference. Megan, 8 matches left in the regular season, including this one. Certainly we're going to keep an eye on Penn State, Illinois, Nebraska, but what are some of the other teams that you'll be looking out for? We saw Purdue on Wednesday get a win over Illinois. They could make a run in the conference. It's still a wide open Big Ten race. Absolutely,
and a lot of those teams in the top 5, really the top 3 in the Big Ten, are all beating each other and still have to compete against each other late in the Big Ten season. There's a lot of matches left that are going to mean a lot for these teams competing for the Big Ten title.
Take a look at the schedule for Penn State coming up. Of course, they get Minnesota tonight. They go to Wisconsin on Sunday. And that big match against Illinois. Illini tied for 3rd place currently. Of course, Penn State played 6 of their final 8 matches on the road in the Big Ten. In the first half of the conference season, they had 6 matches at home. Kristen Carpenter now serving for the Nittany Lions. Double touch called against the Gophers. Point goes to Penn State. Carpenter, the former setter for the Nittany Lions, led them to that national championship a season ago. Now more into a defensive specialist role. Harms off the hands of Longo. Point to Minnesota.
Quick arm swing behind the setter on the right side of the court. She's a tough player to block. You really have to front her because her quick arm swing can go right through the seam of the block.
Hancock with the back set to Grant. Gophers keep it alive and in play. This time to McClendon from the back row. Filio with the up. Overpass. Kill goes to Penn State.
Entering the game for the Nittany Lions, number 4.
Nia Grant able to take advantage for the Nittany Lions.
McClendon taking a rip out of the back row, coming up with an overpass. Grant did a great job of taking advantage of the overpass.
To Harms with the tip and a great decision by Catherine Harms to mix up her arm swing and get the point for the Gophers.
Well, she buried a ball convincingly on her last attack attempt and did a great job of mixing it up, dropping it right in front of the defenders.
Harms having a solid match. She's had double-digit kills in 7 of her last 8 performances. 12 on Friday night against Northwestern. McClendon with the tip and another good decision to change it up. We've seen it on both sides of the net, and now Penn State 2 points away from taking set 2.
A lot of tips falling on either side. The wing defenders have to protect the middle of the court.
Fuller now serving.
Lacey Fuller will check into the match for Penn State. Freshman defensive specialist out of San Diego, California. Involved in all but 2 matches this season. Dixon behind the center gets the kill. Seems like Minnesota really finds a rhythm when Tori Dixon is running that slide play.
Well, they're getting a lot of transition kills from Tori Dixon. They're able to run their middles off of good digs. Minnesota has to keep coming up with those good digs when Tori Dixon is in the front row.
Cowles with the ace, just barely catches the line. What the Gophers need. Some service aces from Tori Dixon. Haley Cowles has served tough as well, but they also have numerous errors in this one. Hancock to McClendon. Another one for Deja McClendon, and Penn State has set point number 1 in the second set.
Penn State number 1, Ariel Scott. Back to serve number 12.
Seeing the 2 stars for both teams step up. And Penn State looking to close out set number 2. We'll see if they can do it when we come back. Minnesota coming into this match was 9th in the Big Ten in blocks per set. Penn State, of course, 3rd in the conference. The last time these two teams met, Penn State outblocked Minnesota 14.5 blocks to 4, and the Gophers have lost the blocking battle in 4 of their last 5 matches. The only time that they were able to outblock an opponent was against Illinois, and they won that match over the number 3 team at the time in the nation in the lineup. So the block needs to get going for the Gophers. They're hitting 174. They have the attack errors, but they also have 7 service errors, which have held them back as well. So we'll see what adjustments Laura Bush has coming out of the intermission for her Gopher team. They fell behind 2-0 a year ago in this matchup at the end of the regular season and came back to win it in 5 sets. A few weeks ago, they fell behind 2-0 to Michigan and were able to come back and win it and get their first win at Michigan since 2005. So it's not unheard of for this Minnesota team to be able to rally from down 2 sets. Hancock looking for another ace. Whitman into the block, stays on Penn State's side. Point to Minnesota.
Starting off the 3rd set strong with a big kill, trying to get the momentum back on their side of the net.
Hancock tips it over to Scott. Scott into the block and out of play. 15 kills for Ariel Scott. Easy one there. She just saw the block, knew she could go off it. She's able to tool it.
Back to serve is number 18, Deja McClendon.
McClendon will now serve for Penn State. 5 aces so far in the match for Penn State. Whitman this time goes down the line. Whitney able to dig it out. She'll get a chance on the swing. Granquist is there for the Gophers. Back row attack, another big block, the triple block for Penn State.
When you're trying to be a back row attacker and you see Katie Slay right in front of you, triple block there. They take up a lot of room. It is a hard block to hit around.
Katie Slay, Scott, as well as Ayanna Whitney, 6'5", 6'4", and 6'6". Not many players are going to go over that block. That one is down, though, by Catherine Harms.
Back to service number 5, Kelly McNeil.
Catherine Harms come up with 4 kills and 7 digs in the first 2 sets. Gophers need that balance. They need someone else to step up other than Ashley Whitman. Almost an ace for Minnesota. Whitney, though, sends it long, and an error on Penn State. Point goes to the Gophers. Penn State with just 5 errors coming into the 3rd set, their first of set number 3. They had 8 errors in the first meeting between these two schools. Service error now by McNeil. Of course, Kelly McNeil into the match at setter. Her 3rd consecutive start for the Gophers. The freshman center for Minnesota, taking over for Mia Taberson. Now Longo will serve for Penn State. McNeil with the back set, goes over to Whitman, and she's able to get it down.
Kill by number 13,
Ashley Whitman taking a big swing on the right side. Trying to go sharp cross court, clipped the net a little bit, but it ended up falling inbound. Sometimes those are the harder balls to defend.
High toss serve from Whitman. Hancock goes to McClendon out of the back row. Strong swing, and she gets the point.
McClendon brings so much heat from the back row. As a defender, you have to be set before the ball is contact. You can see Jessica Granquist back battling to get to that ball. Her feet need to be set in order to dig that ball.
Granquist was the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year a season ago, but when McClendon has that much of a run out of the back row, it's tough to defend. Double contact against Minnesota, so Penn State on top now in set number 3, 5-4. Scott serving for Penn State. Now it's Harms over the block. Good job by McClendon to get to it. McNeil in the middle of Filio, and Penn State can't keep that one in play. Point goes to Ariana Filio.
Point you. Tori Dixon back in the game. Filio back to
Filio, the second youngest of 10 kids, had to fight her entire life against her siblings when playing in sports. Of course, in the middle, has to make things happen against some of the toughest competition in the Big Ten. Whitney this time hits the antenna. Point to the Gophers.
Point you.
Hancock runs it down. Whitney again this time. Finally finishes for Penn State. You talked about it before, Megan. They continue to look to a player. If they struggle, they get her more opportunities until she finally converts.
Absolutely, and as a setter, you want to keep going back to your hitters. Keep the trust in your hitters so that they're getting up swinging hard every single time.
Neal back set to Harms. Penn State can't get to it. Point for the Gophers.
Catherine Harms has an incredible arm swing. She's left-handed, it's extremely fast. As a blocker, you have to make sure you get your feet set early, press low and across, make sure you set up the block early.
Steffi Suter into the match for the Gophers. Full serve is there. Gonzalez gets to it. Now McClendon, she sides out.
Point Penn State. Back in game for the Golden Gophers, number 8, Catherine Harms. Back to serve for the Nittany Lions, number 7, Leah
Family back for Penn State. Tied at 7 in set number 3. McNeil on 2. Third time she's been able to be successful on that.
The blockers on Penn State have to know when she's front row. She likes to stay as an attack threat. Katie Slay, their hands were low. She dropped them, was not ready for McNeil to go over on 2.
Now it'll be Cowles to serve for the Gophers. Hancock goes to Slay. Big swing from Katie Slay, but great up by Granquist. Whitman in transition gets the point.
Huge momentum point there for Minnesota. Granquist comes up with a huge dig there. Down the line from Katie Slay, just right into her platform. Whitman able to come up with a big momentum kill.
First 2-point lead of the set. We've been tight so far in set 3. Hancock goes to McClendon, who gets one more. Seeing a theme here tonight as they look to Deja McClendon when they desperately need a point.
Penn State's very steady inside out right now, going to McClendon, having Ariel Scott as an attack option. They're siding out at a very high percentage.
12 kills now for McClendon. It will be the dangerous Micah Hancock back serving for Penn State. Whitman with the swing. Hancock can't dig it out. Ashley Whitman with a huge side out for the Gophers.
Whitman taking a big swing on the left side for Minnesota, continuing to go back to her as she has success.
Flipping the net, Hancock will get to it. Now Scott puts it down with a big swing.
Back in the match for Penn State.
The middle blocker, Filio, bit with that setter. Micah Hancock thinking she was going to go over on 2. Wasn't able to close the block. Huge kill there by Ariel Scott.
And a service error by Penn State gives it back to the Gophers. Megan, if you're the Nittany Lions and Russ Rose and Micah Hancock, who's running the offense, why wouldn't you go to Ariel Scott almost every time you have the opportunity?
Well, there's no reason that they shouldn't go to her almost every single time. You want to continue to keep it balanced, but Ariel Scott has been unstoppable tonight.
Hancock will go to McClendon out of the back row, who's also in double figures. Met at the net. Just tapped up and over one at the net. The battle goes to Filio.
A battle at the net with tips and joust. Filio stays disciplined as a blocker.
12-9 lead for the Gophers in set 3. Almost an ace, but still alive. Neal, back set to Harms, up by Penn State, but that one won't go over. It would have been 4 touches if Penn State went for it, so they let it go on a play, and it's a 4-point lead, the largest of any set for the Gophers.
Entering the bench for Penn State, number 33.
Harms is a dangerous attacker to leave one-on-one. She takes a high swing. As we stated before, a fast arm swing. You have to have a double block in front of Catherine Harms.
Now Slay in the middle. Neal looks to Filio. Scott again, and another kill. Ariel Scott will not be denied in this match.
They go Ali Longo, gives her the ball as she should. She just is taking very smart swings, bearing the ball when she has a one-on-one opportunity, putting it aggressively in play when she sees the big block.
And a huge block by Whitney. Grant was there for the assist, and Penn State back within 2. State fans are used to seeing Ariel Scott come up with these high kill numbers, but not necessarily for the high percentage as she hits over 400. Air on Penn State gives the service back to the Gophers.
Penn State looking to clean up their game in the 3rd set. They played very efficient in the first 2 sets. They're becoming a little high air here late in the 3rd.
Ariel Scott, though, not high air. 18 kills for Scott. And Penn State within 2. She'll head back to serve. Again, unusual to see her back there serving, but when we mentioned it before, she's just played so well you can't take her out of the match. McNeil to Harms with the tip. Scott with the dig. Whitney too long, out of play. Gophers on top by 3, trying to get back a set. More from Minneapolis in a moment.
Really trying to carry their momentum and sustain their lead in the Big Ten Conference.
Now, we weren't there tonight, but I think it's pretty safe to say that the Cornhuskers had their 159th consecutive sellout. And Grant able to tip it over for Penn State. Cowles gets it for the Gophers. 4-point advantage for Minnesota. Exactly what they needed coming out of the intermission. Keep Penn State on their heels, but they still have not had a block tonight. Penn State leading that battle 10-0. Hancock has to go with the bump set. Whitney just sends it over. Neal in the middle. And almost a good up, but the point goes to Dixon. A 17-12 lead for the Gophers, and Penn State wants to talk it over. Kelly McNeil leading her team here in set number 3. They're on the verge of getting one back. McNeil, the freshman setter for the Gophers, setting a new career high with 34 assists in this match. She's really rounding into a very nice performance and only her 3rd start of her career.
Well, you could see early in the match in that first set, she was a little uneasy, undersetting some balls, oversetting some balls, just not getting Minnesota into their offensive rhythm. But now she's really settled into her game, got a lot of transition kills out of the middle and mixing up her offense.
The Gophers will need more of that to take set number 3. They're 8 points away. They have Ariana Filio back serving. Minnesota at 6-6 in the Big Ten Conference. Penn State at 10-2. Hancock. Double touch called against Micah Hancock. She couldn't get that one over to Darcy Dorton. So the point goes to Minnesota. They're now up 18-12 in set 3. Haven't seen too many mistakes from Hancock in this match, but that one costly for Penn State. Back set goes to Scott. Gophers able to dig it out. They'll send over the free ball. Hancock with a swing, goes to the back corner, gets the point. They'll give the net violation beforehand, though, against Minnesota.
Penn State.
18-13 lead. And Penn State will take the service as Dominique Gonzalez will head back. Gonzalez, one of 4 different freshmen who sees significant playing time. All 5 play. Gonzalez will becoming a fixture in the back row for Penn State. Freshman defensive specialist out of San Antonio, Texas. As the officials double check, make sure that everyone's in the correct rotation. The score is correct at this point. Now Gonzalez will have a chance to serve for Penn State. Down by 5 in set 3. They lead the match 2-0. Overpass kill for Deja McClendon. Penn State's going to make a run in set 3. It has to come behind strong serving.
Absolutely, and Gonzalez set that up nicely for the overpass. McClendon was able to execute for a quick point for Penn State.
Out of system again for the Gophers. Free ball chance now for Penn State. Hancock has to run it down. McClendon with the swing. Grandquist with the up. Arms with the tip. Cowles now for the Gophers. Off the block and down.
Minnesota has really become aggressive offensively. They were out of system. Cowles didn't have much of approach, but she really took an aggressive swing off the Penn State blocker's hands.
Cowles, a Final Four all-tourney team back in 2009 for the Gophers, just the 4th player in program history to be named to that all-tournament team. Suter now serving for Minnesota. Hancock goes to McClendon, who gets the kill. 14 kills now for Deja McClendon.
McClendon going down the line. Suter not all the way to the line. She has to get her body behind that ball. McClendon brings a lot of speed on her attacks.
It'll be Nia Grant again serving for Penn State. McNeil in the middle, almost blocked by Penn State. And now they'll give a double touch call against the Gophers. The Lions get one back. And a timeout by Minnesota and Laura Bush. She sees Penn State coming back within 3 here. We'll head to Twitter, twitter.com/BTN Volleyball. We've got a question for you, Megan, from the Twitter world. At K Slatter, what do the numbers that blockers hold up mean before each point?
Well, what they're doing is calling out their hitters, and then also how many hitters are in the front row. If there's 2 hitters in the front row, or if there's setter's back row, there's 3 hitters in the front row. That means when the setter's back row, there's a right side hitter, a middle hitter, and an outside hitter all in the front row. So that's usually what those mean. They usually stand at the net and point to their different attackers, who they have, make sure their blocking assignments are taken care of.
And do you think Minnesota has not necessarily had their assignments on par so far in this match, because they still haven't come up with a block?
Well, I think that they're struggling right now, but blocking-wise. But what's happening is they have to get back the service line and serve aggressively, because Penn State has been able to run Ariel Scott, Deja McClendon, Katie Slay all out of the middle in those three attack attempts way too many times. If they can serve aggressively and get them slightly off balance, make them more one-dimensional, they'll have a lot more blocking success.
Wednesday night conference foes square off when Michigan State battles Minnesota. Coverage starts Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, presented by Pure Silk and only on BTN. Gophers have a challenge tonight. They, of course, will be challenged by Michigan State. They play 6 of their 8 final matches at home. They have not lost a match in the second half of the Big Ten season since 2007. Penn State, on the other hand, in November is 65-2 in their last 8 seasons. However, one of those 2 losses did come to the Gophers in the Sports Pavilion last year. McNeil to Dixon, off the block. Job to keep it alive there by Penn State. Randquist with a good up for the Gophers. McNeil goes to Cowles with the tip. Scott from the back row. Free ball sent over. Not a good pass, though, off the net. Penn State will send it over. Set goes to Cowles again. She finishes.
Russ Rose not happy with his team. They didn't take care of that free ball. They free balled the ball into the net, not allowing them to set up a big play.
Those kind of errors have cost Penn State this season.
Also questioning that double hand contact on the Minnesota side.
Gophers 5 points away from taking set 3. Hancock to McClendon, too strong, no touch. So now a 5-point margin in favor of the Gophers. Several errors for Penn State here in set number 3. They only had 5 coming into the 3rd set. Doing well to keep those errors low, but the communication and errors have been a storyline all season for Penn State. They had a better effort on Saturday night against Nebraska, and if they're going to make a run at a 5th consecutive national championship or possibly their 9th consecutive Big Ten title, which Russ Rose has said is still down the road, they have to cut down on those errors and have better communication.
Well, right now they're doubling up errors. They make one error and then another error consecutively, one after another. They have to limit their errors and get back into their side-out game. Up until this point, they've been siding out very efficiently.
So you see the AVCA coaches poll. Nebraska was number 1. All 3 of the teams you see there from the Big Ten have been number 1 at one point this season. It's the first time since the late 80s that the conference has had 3 different teams earn the number 1 overall spot. Of course, those teams hoping to get back atop the standings. They're more concerned about the Big Ten standings and positioning for the postseason NCAA tournament. Of course, Illinois number 1 in the RPI, Nebraska at number 2, Penn State at 14, Minnesota is up there as well. 8 teams went to the NCAA tournament a year ago for the Big Ten. 7 in the top 25. You would expect they'd all have a very good chance. Michigan State on the outside looking in right now at that top 25, but they also are a team who would have a good opportunity after not going to the postseason a year ago. So we talk about the errors for Penn State, but high percentages for both of their key outside hitters in Scott and McClendon. Just insane numbers for Ariel Scott in this match, hitting over 500 with 18 kills.
Well, there's been no answer for Ariel Scott, and the reason she's not hitting even over 500 is she's made a few errors on her own. Minnesota has not forced her into any of those errors.
So the 5-point margin in set number 3. Still a discussion going on between Russ Rose and the officials. So Russ Rose been unhappy with the calls throughout this match. Take a look and make sure that the rotations are correct and the substitutions on both sides of the net are accurate, as Cowles will serve for the Gophers. Hancock to Slay, putting it down out of the timeout. Penn State with a big point.
Katie Slay going quick off of 1 foot, directly behind the setter. We usually see her in front of the setter or all the way to the pin behind the setter. Great play setup from Penn State.
Hancock with the serve. Gophers able to control it. Longo goes with the set to Scott, opening again. She's just made every great decision tonight. We've seen big swings from Scott. We've seen off speed, and she finds the opening on the floor.
Well, with Ariel Scott in the front row, Micah Hancock behind the service line, this is the rotation Penn State needs to use to crawl back into the set.
In the middle, big kill by Dixon.
Huge kill from Tori Dixon. She had no blocker here, a perfect set. Buried that ball.
9th kill for Tori Dixon. 3 points away. Hancock goes over to McClendon. Block was there for Minnesota. Scott this time rolls it over. Middle to Slay, who converts. Katie Slay with her 3rd kill. Looking for a few more on her birthday. State down by 3. Minnesota close out the 3rd set as McClendon heads back to serve. Of course, a few points ago, Tori Dixon with that point in the middle, not only important for them to get their 22nd point, but also take away that service from Micah Hancock. Of course, Hancock leads the nation in service aces this season. Checking the rotations again, making sure that the proper players are on the floor. Of course, the officials in both teams really keep track of that because they want to make sure that everything, all the substitutions and the players who have checked in are in the right order. If you do substitute in at the wrong time or rotate out of position, it would be a point that would go to the other team. So it's something the coaches want to make sure is accurate. The officials will confer with those coaches. Now ready to play with McClendon back serving for Penn State. Over to Whitman. Hancock can't handle it. Point goes to the Gophers.
Minnesota is resilient in serve receive, getting good passes. Ashley Whitman executing that ball down the line.
Now it'll be the freshman setter McNeil serving. Flips the net. Back set over to Scott. Granquist runs it down, and the Gophers will send over a free ball. Hancock goes to Scott again. This time the tip, and they'll call it down. Point goes to Penn State. Gopher fans don't like the call.
Set was a bit tight to the net. Ariel Scott was able to drop that ball right in front of Jessica Granquist.
Gophers wanted the pancake call for Jessica Granquist. McNeil. Hancock goes to Whitney. Chance now for Harms. Scott rolls it over. Neal goes back to Harms, puts up the swing, blocked for Penn State. Grant and Scott combine, and Penn State's within 2.
Grant and Scott combined for a big block there.
Join us right back here at the Sports Pavilion tomorrow night.
A timeout for the Gophers as Penn State leads in the block category 11-0 in this match as they try to come back in it overall. Of course, you can get the most recent PSU sports news and information, plus all your apparel needs at the home of Penn State athletics, gopsusports.com. It's all part of the Big Ten Digital Network. And then, of course, for the Golden Gophers, your home for Gopher news and scores, and where you can buy tickets and merchandise at the official home of Minnesota Athletics, gophersports.com. Again, part of the Big Ten Digital Network. Megan, set number 1. Saw Penn State take a lead, then Minnesota fought their way back, tied things up at 24 apiece. We went to extra points in set 1, and Penn State took set 2 in dominant fashion. Does Penn State have a run to come back and possibly tie this one up again and potentially force extra points?
Absolutely, and I think they're in a great rotation to do so. Ariel Scott's in the front row right now, and she's definitely been their dominant attacker tonight. Continue to get her the ball. She's had a lot of success in the front row. Need to come up with a few good digs and then run that transition for a kill.
And if you're Minnesota, who do you look to here? Ashley Whitman has been a star, but we also have seen some nice play from Dixon in the middle.
Well, right now, Ariana Filio is their middle hitter. Whitman in the front row. They have a solid front row. Harms, they have 3 attacker options up at the net.
So
Allie Longo, second on the team in service aces for the Nittany Lions, will serve. And Lacey Fuller will check in for Deja McClendon. Of course, a better defensive player than Deja McClendon in Lacey Fuller. McNeil has to run it for the bump set. Goes to the back row. Fuller with the up. Now Scott with the roll, looking for the corner. Cowles was there. Whitman with a big swing, but the block! Again, it's Grant and Scott.
Well, Nia Grant has come into the match on numerous occasions and come up with huge blocks for Penn State. Closes a block so nicely, blocks out with her trail hand.
1 point set. Longo still serving for Penn State. McNeil, Whitman again over the block and down this time for the Gophers. And it's set point for Minnesota.
Ashley Whitman coming back with an aggressive attack after getting stuff blocked. Huge kill there by Ashley Whitman.
Fuller will check out of the match, and Deja McClendon will come back in. Whitman will serve for the Gophers. Hancock goes to Scott. Looks to her again, and it's down. Ariel Scott, kill number 21, brings Penn State back within 1. The Gopher faithful trying to rally their team to take this set. McNeil to Cowles, gets it in the back row. Minnesota takes set 3 and is alive in the match. We'll head to set number 4 and see if the Gophers can keep it going when we come back to the Sports Pavilion in Minneapolis. Cowles finishes it off for Minnesota. Big reason why was the blocking effort by Lauren Gibmeyer in that match, and Minnesota still does not have a block in this match, Megan.
Well, I don't think that there's any team that goes without a block in a match and ends up winning. I haven't seen that in a long time, so Minnesota's got to get their blocking efforts up to continue to crawl back into this match.
Hancock goes to Slay. She's able to tip it over. Tough pass, but she gets the point.
We see that play a lot from Katie Slay, coming off the slide attempt, tipping it right over the block for the kill.
It'll be the dangerous serve of Hancock. Radquist has done a nice job receiving that serve from Hancock. Whitman able to tool the block for the Gophers.
Hitting error. Point you. Ariana Filio back to the game for the Gophers. Back to serve number 6,
Tori Dixon, who already has 3 service aces in the match, back to serve for Minnesota. Hancock back set to McClendon, who puts it down.
McClendon taking a powerful approach there. He really uses her arms to elevate off of the floor and over the block.
Back to serve.
McClendon up to 15 kills now, had 18 against Nebraska on Saturday. It's her 16th match of the season with 10 kills or more. Out of system for the Gophers, they'll send it over. Hancock, Slay in the middle. Now tipped back by Filio. Whitman now. Block is there for Penn State. McNeil to Harms. Net at the net. Hands of Slay gets it over, and the point for Penn State.
Katie Slay had multiple blocks in this rally, just really staying in front of the ball. Make sure her feet are there, pressing into the court, coming up with a big block.
Of course, stay tuned after volleyball for Big Ten football report. Once we're finished in Minneapolis, Penn State can't control it, and the point goes to the Gophers. We'll get you ready for football Saturday tomorrow. Important games throughout the Big Ten Conference. Mike Hall will catch you up on all the latest from your favorite Big Ten football teams. Hancock runs it down. Chance for Whitman again. Block is there for Penn State. Out of play, though. Gophers make the good call to let it go.
Ashley Whitman taking a powerful swing high off the blocker's hand. She's not going right through the meat of the block, instead going high off their hands, enabling the ball to go out of bounds.
Service error by the Gophers, and the point goes to Penn State. Gophers had 7 service errors in the first 2 sets. They fell behind 2 sets to none. Better on the serve. Game in set number 3. Longo now for Penn State. Whitman again. Longo with a good up. Back row for McClendon with the tip. Great save by the Gophers. Now Scott off the block. Neal. Joust in the middle, still alive. Hancock goes to Whitney. Rally continues. Good defense on both sides of the net. Harms trying to end it, and she does. Some great defense eventually sets up Catherine Harms. Saw McNeil with a nice dig for the Gophers.
Great defense out of both teams here. Grantquist keeping that ball off the floor, placing it over the net, and then just coming up with the big momentum play.
Hancock goes to Whitney. She finds the back row this time. Penn State takes a 5-4 lead in set number 4. The number 6 team in the country against the number 15 team. Some great top 15, top 10 matchups all season in the Big Ten. McNeil in the middle to Filio, who finishes.
Penn State has really settled into their serve-receive game, serving and passing very well right now. Filio able to run the quick attack right in front of the setter.
She get her chance to serve now for the Gophers. Hancock goes to Scott. Back set over to Harms. She just tips it over. Hancock with the big swing. McNeil able to dig it out. Howells now. Scott goes with the set to Whitney into the block and down. Out of system, but Penn State gets the point.
Penn State fighting to control their side of the net. Their serve-receive ball control has dropped off a bit, but Ayanna Whitney coming up with a nice kill and an out-of-system play.
Cowles this time. Another block by Penn State. Grant and Hancock, and they try to fire up their teammates. That one long by Penn State. The service error by Dominique Gonzalez brings the Gophers back within 1. If Penn State wins this match, Megan, the play of Ariel Scott has been fantastic. Also Deja McClendon, but the block will be the biggest reason why.
Well, they've done a great job of just solidifying their block in front of all the Minnesota attackers, really using their feet to get to the ball. Very good technique as blockers.
Hancock goes to McClendon. She mixes it up again. She's been very effective with that shot, and she gets the point.
McClendon mixing it up, just slows down her arm swing very late into her approach.
McNeil, Dixon in the middle, put down by the Penn State block again.
Katie Slay is not going to let you tip over her. She's just such a disciplined blocker, keeps her hands high.
Penn State has done well with Nia Grant serving tonight. Neal Goes over to Cowles. Clendon able to run it down. Scott from the back row, another tip, and Penn State's been effective with that all night. 4-point lead for the Nittany Lions. Timeout by the Gophers. Back to the Sports Pavilion in a moment. For Minnesota, Kelly McNeil, the freshman, a big reason why they were able to win set number 3. She set a very nice game. She's playing just her 3rd start of her career. For Mia Taberson, Laura Bush made the decision to make the switch and go with the freshman. She's done a very nice job. Arms this time, clips the net. It's McClendon. Double touch will be called against the Gophers. Point number 11 to Penn State. Minneapolis, Minnesota, where we're at the Sports Pavilion with Penn State on top 2-1 in the match. Mike Wolf alongside Megan Bauer. Penn State seeing another great run with Nia Grant serving. Back row for Whitman now, goes and gets the line.
Ashley Whitman brings a lot of heat out of the back row. Did a nice job leading her, able to stretch her approach.
Cowles with the jump serve for the Gophers, and an ace! Serving aggressively is what Minnesota needs to do to be able to take this match. Cowles looking for another. Penn State able to get to it. McClendon. Hancock to McClendon again. Block but out of play. Gophers almost had their first block of the match, but they won't get it. Point goes to Penn State.
McClendon taking 2 big swings there. Mixing up her shots, going off the Minnesota blocker's hands.
And it'll be Hancock for Penn State serving. Granquist continues to do a great job receiving for Minnesota. Back set to Scott. Whitman now. Longo goes with the bump set to Scott. Looks for the back row, but Cowles is there. Hancock to McClendon this time. Whitman trying to finish. McNeil to Whitman again, gets the kill, ends the long rally, and Minnesota within 3.
A hard-earned point there by Minnesota, having to take a ton of swings here to end the rally. Ashley, smart play down the line in the deep corner.
Another 20-kill performance by Ashley Whitman and another double-double. Hancock to Scott. Cowles with a good up for the Gophers. She'll take the swing from the back row. Now McClendon this time. Great back row defense by Minnesota, and another kill for Whitman.
2 points in a row where Minnesota's defense has earned them points, allowing them to run their transition offense for a kill.
It'll be Dixon serving for the Gophers. Hancock goes to McClendon. Out of play, point to Penn State. Again, when Minnesota puts together a rally, Hancock looks to Deja McClendon, the reigning National Freshman of the Year. Whitman again. Block is there for Penn State, and they get another 16 blocks now for the Nittany Lions.
Just coming up with some big blocks down the stretch in each of these sets for Penn State.
Katie Slay averages nearly a block and a half per set. Good for the best in the Big Ten, but Whitman atop the Big Ten kill mark, 3rd in the Big Ten, and she gets another one.
Whitman just coming back each time more and more aggressive. She got sub-blocked on the play before by Katie Slay, but just comes back on her next attempt with an aggressive and smart shot.
Neal with a tough serve. Penn State out of system, sends over the free ball. Whitman again. Blocked, but it's down on Penn State's side, so it won't go as a block. Point to the Gophers. 2-point advantage now, and Minnesota continuing to build momentum. Hancock to Slay. McNeil to Filio. Back set goes to Scott, and she gets one more.
She put that ball down with authority. Penn State has to continue to find her offensively.
Of course, coming up after the conclusion of our match, the Big Ten football report will get you ready for Big Ten football Saturday. Still have a lot left to be played here in the Sports Pavilion. A service error by Penn State gives the point back to the Gophers. And we've seen Minnesota do this before, able to rally back after falling behind 2-0 and force a 5-set match. Did it against Michigan earlier this season, against Penn State last year at the end of the regular season for that big win. Trying to get back again. Overpass, Filio with the kill.
Great serve by Ashley Whitman, scoring an overpass opportunity. Filio burying that ball.
Hancock looks to Grant this time. Missed time and miscommunication between the center and hitter. Point goes to Minnesota, and we're tied in set 4. Great serve by Whitman and an ace. They take the lead. A 6-1 run for the Gophers as they're on top in set 4. A timeout by Russ Rose. He's unhappy with his team. He'll see if he can change things out of the timeout. More from the Sports Pavilion when we come back. A 6-1 run for the Minnesota Golden Gophers in set number 4 to take the lead from Penn State. Ashley Whitman, another outstanding night and performance for the Gophers. She's 3rd in the Big Ten in kills per set. Of course, a lot of talent in the Big Ten Conference. She's also 15th nationally in that category. Another 20-kill performance, 20-plus kills for her, and a double-double. 7 kills this set. We're only halfway through the set, just over halfway. Ashley has been vital to this Gopher effort tonight against Penn State. She continues to serve for Minnesota. Hancock goes near side to Whitney. Gophers able to get it out. Whitman from the back row. Longo, she'll go to Scott. Cross court, out of play. Scott wanted the touch call, but she won't get it.
Airs right now are really putting Penn State in a bad position. They have a bad set from Allie Longo all the way outside the antenna, not giving Ariel Scott enough room.
Whitman just barely misses the line. Service error against Minnesota, so the point goes to Penn State. 17-16 in set 4. Penn State brings back in one of their captains in Kristen Carpenter to serve. She had 2 service aces against Nebraska on Saturday night. One of the leaders who's not on the floor often for Penn State, but in this kind of moment, you need leadership. Back row now for the Gophers. Hancock tries to go over on 2. Minnesota was ready for it. Cowles this time. Chance for Whitney with the tip. Bump set from Granquist, goes to Harms. Fuller lays out for it, can't get it in play. Point for the Gophers.
Minnesota just finding all the holes in Penn State placing it perfectly for the kill.
In 21 matches this season, Minnesota has only played 2 4-set matches. They've been in 9 5-set affairs, and they're looking to get one more tonight as they lead it by 2 in set number 4, 7 points away from forcing the decisive 5th set. Whitney again. Chance for Grant on the slide. Point goes to Penn State.
We have Grant burying that ball behind the setter, right through the seam of Minnesota's block.
Freshman to freshman connection. Asia McClendon checks back in. Scott and North McClendon were on the floor a moment ago. So Penn State, already a young team, going with their youngest lineup. And Dominique Gonzalez will now serve. McNeil goes to Harms. Gonzalez gets a hand on it. Sent over by Hancock. Now over to Cowles. Block is there, but it's out of play. Point goes to the Gophers. Minnesota continuing to fight. They've had an answer for every Penn State point in the second half of set 4. Suter serving for Minnesota. Hancock has to bump set to McClendon. Cranquist with a good up. Goes over to Cowles. Neal looks to Dixon. Another chance for McClendon. Mixes it up. Gophers are there. Cowles sends it over. Hancock goes for the swing. Minnesota ready for it. Cowles this time out of play, and air on Minnesota gives the point to Penn State.
Haley Cowles trying to aim for that deep line shot where she's had a lot of success in this match, a little bit wide.
Grant into the net. A surprise there. She served very well in this match, but the point goes to Minnesota. They're 5 away from forcing set number 5. Hancock to McClendon, through the block and down. Saw a great first set where the teams traded points. Penn State in set number 2 was able to dominate. In set 3, the Gophers were able to hold off the Nittany Lions, and they're trying to do the same here in set number 4. Hancock to serve for Penn State. Leads the nation in service aces, and now she's set the single-season mark for Penn State with 73 this year.
And right when they're trying to make a push in to win this match, to close it out, they have her back behind the service line.
All alone atop the single-season record mark for Penn State. She wanted one more there. Whitman able to side out for the Gophers. So as big as that ace for Penn State was for the Nittany Lions, Whitman gets the huge kill for the Gophers. It will be Dixon serving for Minnesota. Hancock goes to McClendon, out of play, no touch. Minnesota within 3 of taking set 4. Another timeout for Penn State and Russ Rose. The hitting errors have come back to haunt them in the second half of this match. We'll see if they can correct them or if Minnesota can force set 5. Penn State has been dominant in the month of November over the last 8 seasons. They've won 8 Big Ten titles in a row. They've dropped only 2 during that span, but one of them came to the Gophers in this building in the regular season finale a year ago. Dixon with those 3 service aces for the Gophers, still back there, looking for another one here. Hancock goes to McClendon. Gophers were there with the block. It's just sent over. McNeil to Harms. Hancock goes to Scott this time. Powerful swing and kill.
Penn State has a big front row in right now. They have Ariel Scott, Katie Slade, Deja McClendon all in their front row. Ariel Scott has been on fire all night. They have to continue to give her the ball.
Minnesota had no answer for her in set number 1. Slowed down a little bit with a couple of errors by Scott in set number 3. Penn State, though, will continue to look to her if they have the opportunity. Whitman at the net, blocked by Scott. No, it goes out of play, so the point goes to the Gophers.
Heads up play by Ashley Whitman. She was set into a box. Not much else she could have done. She stuck that ball to Ariel Scott's block and threw it off out of bounds.
Fuller overpass and a kill. Whitman has the Gophers 1 point away from forcing set 5.
Overpass opportunity. Ashley Whitman buries the ball for a quick point.
McNeil back to serve, set point.
Neal serving set point for the Gophers. Hancock goes to Scott. Out of play, tooling the block. 25 kills now for Ariel Scott. We saw extra points in set number 1. Will we see it again, or will Minnesota finish off Penn State in set 4? McNeil, middle, Filio. Chance now for Whitman. Right up by McClendon. Whitney with a chance. Gopher miscommunication, and the point goes to Penn State, now down by 1.
Timeout, Minnesota.
And a timeout by Laura Bush. She sees the Nittany Lions rallying here. Get one more look. That up by McClendon, huge for Penn State.
Well, yeah, absolutely huge for Penn State. And then a miscommunication between Cowles and the setter, not able to come up with that. That absolutely cannot happen when you're trying to close out a set.
You talk about Kelly McNeil, the freshman. Megan, what's it like being a freshman playing in potentially one of your biggest matches of your career? It's only her 3rd start, and she's being asked to do a lot in this match.
Well, her last 2 matches she started in at Illinois and then at home against Penn State are just extremely competitive matches, important for Minnesota.
So Minnesota on top here in set 4, 1 point away from taking the set, but Penn State's blocks have been outstanding tonight. 16.5 blocks for the Nittany Lions to 0 for the Gophers. The blocks, a reason Penn State went out to that 2-0 lead. Of course, a big reason they've been able to come back here in set number 4, but the attack errors for Penn State, we talked about them being at a low number in the early portion of this match, Megan. In the first 3 sets, they had only 5 attack errors. They've had 7 in the fourth set alone. So those errors biting the Nittany Lions and keeping them from putting away this match. The Gophers will take advantage of it and hope to finish it off here and go to set number 5. Again, Megan, when was the last time you saw a team force 5 sets or win a match without having a single block?
I don't know that I have ever seen it, and especially with such a gap in between that 16.5 and 0.
Gophers out of system. Whitman off the shoulder of McClendon. Gophers force set 5. Out of system for Minnesota, but they still get the point. They head into set number 5 with the momentum as they try to get another upset. Back to Minneapolis for the finish in a moment. Another set 5 epic battle in the Big Ten. Cowles Gophers with a good serve to start. Penn State, though, able to get it to Slay. McNeil to Whitman. Continues her play, finds the back corner, and a kill to start off set 5.
Ashley Whitman, cross court, deep corner, really aiming for that deep corner for the kill.
And Whitman ties a career high now with 28 kills in the match. Hancock to McClendon, tools the block and gets the point for Penn State. McClendon now into 20 kills. Whitman with 28, Scott with 25. Each star has stepped up tonight. Hancock long, and the service error gives the point to Minnesota. Penn State would have loved to have had her back there for a rally.
Well, her serve really creates momentum. They're quick points. They get the other team out of system.
Earlier this season, Hancock served 4 consecutive points early on against Northwestern in a 5-set match. This time, though, she gets it to Slay to tie things up at 2 points apiece. Of course, we talk about that meeting last season when Minnesota rallied from down 2 sets to beat Penn State in this building. That was the last time that Penn State lost after going up 2-0. McNeil to Whitman. Block is down by Penn State. No, it's out of play. It rolled off the net, and the point goes to the Gophers. Now a new career high for Ashley Whitman with 29 kills. It's her 6th performance with 20 kills or more in her last 8 matches. Hancock goes to Scott. Grandquist with a great up. Back row to Cowles. Barnes now. Longo goes to Scott. Over the block. Cowles dives for it and saves it for the Gophers. Whitman off the block and out of play. Earlier it was Ariel Scott who could not be stopped. Now it's Ashley Whitman for the Gophers.
Well, Ashley Whitman aiming all over the court. The blockers do not know how to stop her. She's using the blockers, going underneath them. Just really making the defense work.
Hancock goes over to Whitman. Chance for Whitman again. Long this time. No touch called. Point goes to Penn State. Of course, Megan, we talk about Penn State being 2nd in the Big Ten. Minnesota at 6-6, tied for 5th. Important match for both teams. Whitman, another kill. 30-kill performance for Ashley Whitman, and she has the Gophers 10 points away from taking the match.
Right now, they're just going to her with every opportunity they can. They have to continue to feed her the ball in a short 5th set.
Whitney with the swing for Penn State. Overpass and kill for Nia Grant. Whitman with a nice dig for Minnesota, but Nia Grant took advantage of the overpass.
Back in the game for Golden Gophers, number 3, Haley Cowles. Back in the game for Penn State, number 5, Kristen Carpenter.
Kristen Carpenter will come in to serve for the Nittany Lions. Of course, she was an All-Big Ten preseason selection. A different role for her this season. Minnesota can't handle the serve. It's a free ball chance now. Over to Grant. Back-to-back kills for Nia Grant.
Great set by Micah Hancock. Went and got that tight ball out of the net, threw it behind her, put her hitter in a perfect situation.
6 kills for Nia Grant. Carpenter trying to serve tough. McNeil able to stay in system. Arms is there. Free Free ball again for Penn State. Can they take advantage? Whitney with the swing and the kill. Now Penn State with the lead in set 5. Goes over to Cowles, out of play. She went down the line but couldn't find it. So now it's a 7-5 lead. We'll take a break. Penn State on top. We'll see if the Gophers have another answer when we come back to Minneapolis. Carpenter still serving for Penn State. McNeil, Mill this time. Grant is there. Back row goes to Whitman. Chance now by McClendon in the back row. Rankowist will set it over to Harms. Good rally going here. Hancock tries to end it. Harms with the swing, but the block is down. Whitney and Grant combine for a big block.
Huge block by Whitney. Just really posting up on that right side hitter. Catherine Harms unable to get through the block.
So they will switch sides at point number 8. Penn State on top by 3, 5 consecutive points for the Nittany Lions. Russ Rose sees his team 7 points away from taking the match. They're 2-3, as we mentioned, in 5-set matches this season. They lost on the road in a 5-set match to Nebraska, lost at home to Illinois in 5 sets. Middle this time to Filio. Chance now for Harms, finds the back corner. Gophers end the run, and they're down by 2.
Corey Dixon checking back in the game, back to service number 11,
Gophers still without a block, but they're down by 2 and tied in the match in sets. Chance for Grant on the slide. Hancock, big swing. There's a whistle, though. I believe they're going to call an illegal back row attack against Penn State.
If you were the libero and you use your hands, you set the ball in front of the 10-foot line, the next contact cannot be an attack. They have to stay on the ground. You can see Allie Longo, they called her in front of the 10-foot line. And then Micah Hancock went up and attacked that ball. She has to stay on the ground.
Russ Rose is not happy with that call. 1-point margin here in set number 5. Tough to tell whether or not Longo was across the line from that last view. Hancock will go to Whitney. Neal now. Brianna Haugen into the match and gets the kill. Tied at
8. Huge swing by Haugen coming out on the left side. Her first attempt of the night in that deep corner for the kill.
Brianna Haugen barely in this match, saw a little bit of time early on in the match, but comes in here in set number 5 to get an important kill and tie this one back up at 8. Megan, 7 points will decide this unless the teams stay close enough. What do you want to see from both teams here down the stretch of this incredible match?
Well, Penn State has had a lead in this 5th set, but then they keep making those unforced errors, allowing Minnesota to stay in, but Minnesota has to keep up their good defense. They've had 0 blocks, but have come up with some phenomenal digs to keep them in the rally.
Take a look at the schedule for Minnesota coming up. Of course, they're coming off a victory over number 3 Illinois on Saturday. That was the highest ranked team they have ever beaten. They're looking for back-to-back wins over top 10 opponents. And then they really could build on that through the remainder of the Big Ten season. You see a lot of home matches for the Gophers. They went 9-1 in the second half of the Big Ten season a year ago. They want to do something similar here and make another run at the top of the conference. Of course, they're in that middle of the pack at 6-6 currently. All tied at 8 points apiece here in set number 5. Penn State has not won a true road match in 5 sets since October 2009 in Ann Arbor. So it's been a while for the Penn State Nittany Lions. The Gophers are used to these 5-set matches. I mentioned before, 10th 5-set match of the season for Minnesota. We look at the outside hitters. Ashley Whitman, both of those, him hitting over 400 is incredible that both of those players have hit for that high a number. You also have to mention Deja McClendon. She's at 20 kills as well. Filio will head back to serve for the Gophers. And Filio will get the ace outside the antenna as Whitney tried to tip it over. Point goes to the Gophers, and they're on top, 6 points away. This is where a young team like Penn State goes up against a veteran team like Minnesota, and in set number 5, experience is so important. All 6 starters for the Nittany Lions are underclassmen. We'll look at several different seniors involved for the Gophers. Kilo being one of them, Brandquist and Cowles as well. Scott looking for the kill and gets it.
Penn State has got to continue to give her the ball, even if she's in the back row. She has just been on fire the entire night, finding ways to put the ball on the floor.
Of course, coming up right after volleyball, the Big Ten football report. Got a great finish, though, coming from the Sports Pavilion in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Before we get to the Big Ten football report, Gonzalez back to serve for Penn State. Another discussion here with the officials. Checking on the substitutions and the rotations for both teams, making sure they are rotating correctly before they let play resume. Seen this often tonight. The officials trying to make sure they get everything accurate. We've seen Russ Rose been unhappy with a few calls. These officials doing a nice job to try to make sure everyone is in rotation. Gonzalez, tough serve, overpass, kill for McClendon.
Perfect execution from McClendon on the overpass. She extended high, buried that ball.
Minnesota able to receive it this time. Dixon in the middle answers back.
Tori Dixon with a great kill out of the middle, chopping it around Nia Grant's block.
Back and forth we go, and again we mentioned it. Last time they went 14 extra points in set 5 in this building when these two teams met. Continuing to go trading points here in the 5th set of this match. Hancock to Scott. Brandquist with a great dig. Cowles with the chance. Penn State can't get to it, and the point to the Gophers.
Hesitation by Deja McClendon there in the front row. You could tell she saw the tip come over the block. Her and Ariel Scott both looked at each other and thought they were going for the ball.
Now Minnesota will take the service. McClendon, she puts it away and tries to get her team rallied. Another tie, and it's 11-all in set number 5. Important to remember, Penn State beat Ayers in set 5 against Nebraska on the road earlier this season, cost them from taking that match. A service ace for Nia Grant, though, and Penn State is 3 points away from taking the match. Grant, another tough serve, but Minnesota able to get it to McNeil. Dixon now. Gonzalez with the set to McClendon. Free ball sent over. Chance now for Penn State. Hancock goes to McClendon. And a kill for Deja McClendon gives them point 13.
Deja McClendon putting the ball away for kills when Penn State needs to close out this match.
23rd kill now for Deja McClendon. And another timeout for the Gophers, as Penn State is 2 points away. Of course, we haven't seen that many blocks here in set number 5, but worth mentioning, Megan, Penn State out-blocking the Gophers 16.5 blocks to 0. So that could come back to be a big factor here down the stretch in these final few points.
Well, and Minnesota has done a great job of holding on into this match with no blocks, but coming up with some great digs.
And of course, this match so important in the Big Ten Conference race. And the scores from around the Big Ten Conference. Nebraska getting that victory in 4 sets, so they remain atop the standings. Michigan State with a big win, Ohio State as well, and Northwestern beating Indiana. Illinois and Purdue played on Wednesday night. They're both tied for 3rd place in the conference. Penn State at 2nd at 10-2 coming into this match, and Nebraska at 12-1 now overall in the conference. So you know this match is certainly going to impact the Big Ten standings, and both of these teams are hoping to walk away with a victory and build on the momentum heading into the remainder of the Big Ten Conference slate. Gophers with 3 of their final 4 weeks of the season at home. Penn State the opposite, 3 of their 4 weeks on the road. This could be another big confidence boost for either team. Grant still serving for Penn State. McNeil has to bump set it to Dixon. She goes cross court and gets the kill.
Unbelievable kill there by Tori Dixon. She was put in a tough situation as an attacker. 2 big blockers right in front of her. She found a way to find the floor.
And now it'll be Haley Cowles to serve for the Gophers. She's been tough all night from that back line. But it's long, and it's match point number 1 for Penn State. And it'll be Micah Hancock who leads the nation in service aces, trying to close it out for the Nittany Lions. Overpass, kill for Katie Slay. 5-set win for Penn State as they hold off the Gophers.
And it was that serve by Micah Hancock. She earned so many points in that rotation when she is behind the service line. We see here she gets that great serve, sets up Slay for the overpass, and she buries it for the match.
And it's Katie Slay on her birthday, ending the 5-set affair between the Penn State Nittany Lions and the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. Tonight's performance of the match is brought to you by Pure Silk. It's Ariel Scott with 26 kills for the Nittany Lions.
And she was such on fire early and in this match. Started off Penn State with a lot of momentum. And there's no question Penn State wanted the ball in her hands when they needed side out. Ariel Scott had a phenomenal match.
One off a career high for Ariel Scott, but she hit .423, also had 4 blocks. May have been the most complete performance of Ariel Scott's career. And Penn State earns this victory over a top 15 team. They improve to 11-2 in the Big Ten Conference, alone in 2nd place, as they look to build towards possibly winning a 9th consecutive Big Ten title. Penn State gets the victory in 5 sets over Minnesota.